Hello, welcome to Bodhran Basics. I'm Matt DeBlast, and in this lesson we're going to talk about the basics getting started, holding the drum, holding the tipper, and your basic stroke. First, we'll start with holding the drum. Find yourself a chair or a bench or something. Lets you keep your feet flat on the ground and your thighs parallel to the ground. So you can set the drum on the top of your left thigh. Or, here's an important thing, if you're left-handed, everything is reversible. Unlike a lot of other instruments, drums aren't directional, the bodhran isn't. So you can actually do this on your right side. So I'm going to be saying left and right because I'm right-handed, but if you're left-handed, just mirror everything instead of doing it the way I do. So set the drum on your left thigh, on the top of it, just a bit to the outside of the curve of your leg. So I don't know if you can see my leg here, but... And then the part of the drum closest to your body should be resting lightly against your rib cage. If you're a little chubby like I am, you want to try to avoid the soft, squishy bits, because that'll help mute the sound, believe it or not. Your forearm is going to press against the rim of the drum here, not too tightly, between your arm and your ribs, and that should hold the drum so it doesn't wiggle around too much. And then your hand, will rest against the back of the head. So the drum should be more or less straight up and down, a little bit angled towards your body, so instead of directly parallel to your body, it angles a little bit across you. And don't worry too much about the exact position. You'll play around with it, you'll get used to it. And your left hand for now, we're just going to let it rest flat against the back of the head, so everything makes a kind of a dull thumb. We'll worry about left hand technique in a future lesson. Right now though, we're going to start with the tipper. And again, I'm going to use my broomstick tipper here because it's symmetrical and all that. And you're going to grip it like you'd hold a pencil. So I keep using that pencil analogy. It makes sense. My playing is better than my handwriting though, so that's good for you. Just a bit off from the middle of the stick. If here's your point, here's your eraser. You want to hold it just a little bit past the middle so you've got a little bit more sticking out on the striking end than you have on the upper end. So you want to get your shoulder back, let your upper arm hang down, bend your elbow, grab it like this. Keep your wrist straight. You don't want to cock your wrist. And here's something, a lot of techniques, there's a very traditional style of playing with your wrist bent in like this. I find that causes a lot of tension through here, the tendons on my forearm. And I always play with my wrist straight. So that's something to work on. It's not wrong if you do it like this, or you see somebody doing it like this. My preference is to keep my wrist straight. So, as we're sitting here like this, wrist straight, arm cocked 90 degrees, you just want to start rotating your hand. Just like you're doing what do they call it, the shaka thing here. You just want to rotate your hand, swivel it back and forth. Hold the stick just tightly enough that it's not going to slip out of your grip, but it should have a little wiggle, which is where like a notch, or if you don't have a notch, you can use a little rubber band to keep it from sliding. And just do that, and just down, up, down, up. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Just get a sense of how that's going to feel. Keeping your movements consistent, rhythmic. Think of the downstroke as a 1, upstroke as a 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. Now, once you've got that kind of comfortable, swing your arm in. So now you're pointed at the drum head. And do that same 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now, you're going to get a strike on the down and on the up. And here's where the first challenge that a lot of new players run into. If you're aiming at the drum head, you're probably going to hear a little bit of a scratchy noise, like this. And that's going to take a little adjusting to get used to get around that. And the trick that I use to adapt to that is, you think about where the point of your stick is, and don't aim it at the drum head. Aim it for a point about 5 millimeters past the drum head. So you're not going to try to hit the drum head, you're going to try to strike through the drum head and hit a point just a little bit behind it. Now obviously you can't well, you shouldn't strike through your drum head and tear the thing open. But what that's effectively going to do, instead of just hitting right at the middle of your stroke, like that, and scraping, your up and down are actually going to hit in two different places, where if the middle of the arc is here, you're going to hit slightly above the middle and slightly below it on the way back up. So if you aim for the middle of the arc, you get that. But if you aim through the arc, if you hit through the arc, so. And the idea is you're going to smack into the drum head before you complete that arc and smack into it on the same, and it's going to bounce up a little bit, so your actual pattern is going to look like boom, bounce, bounce. So if you work on that, eventually you'll get a clear thump or clear smack into the head. And again, we're just muting the back right now instead of that scraping noise. It's also going to help if you've got a new drum, especially one of the less expensive ones. The heads tend to be kind of rough, so there'll be a little bit of that too until you get broken in. But your attack shouldn't be part of the problem. And as you play it in, so work on that. Now you want to practice this for a while with the goal of getting consistent, clear strokes and keeping a steady rhythm and timing between the up and down strokes. Starting with the downstroke is 1. Count your up and down strokes like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep your wrist straight and relaxed. And don't hold your tipper any harder than necessary to keep it from moving around. And again, if you find that it's slipping out of your grip and you keep having to squeeze tighter to do it, you can take a little bit of rubber band. You can see I did on this one, I've got a little bit of a hair tie on it. And that just acts as a stop to keep it from sliding and keeps you from having to grip too tightly. Now it's going to take a little bit of time to build up the muscle memory to get clear and consistent strokes. But practice it. And it's one of the things you can do like when you're watching TV, when you're sitting, or if you're playing along with music, you can just, in time with the music. I do recommend getting if you don't have a metronome app for your phone, which you can get for free, and then you can just set a speed that you feel comfortable with, and just go, if you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Start slow, don't rush, don't try to go faster. In fact, the metronome will help you keep from trying to speed up as you go. And there's a martial arts friend of mine introduced me to the saying that slow is smooth and smooth is fast, which means if you practice something slowly over enough times, as you develop that memory and the feel for it, you'll get more efficient and smoother at it, and then it'll become a lot easier to play faster than if you just rush trying to go as fast as you can right off the bat. As far as practicing this basic technique too, you don't even need a drum to get started. One of my favorite practice tools is one of this cheapy little bamboo beater. I think I got it from Amazon for about $10, but you can get it from a local music store. I think House of Musical Traditions or Hobgoblin Music sells them fairly inexpensively. And you can use a notebook or a sketchbook or a clipboard and just practice your basic strokes while you're watching TV, while you're doing something else. Probably not while you're at work or on the phone. But you can practice doing that and just get yourself used to it in a way that doesn't make a ton of noise. And even if you have a drum, this is a little bit of a quieter way to practice. And if you haven't got your first drum yet, this is a good way to get started. So by the time you actually pick up your first drum, you'll already be able to get a good sound out of it. So, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Keep at it. Keep playing, keep practicing. And next we're going to work on, in the next lesson, we're going to work on learning some accents and rhythm patterns to take that up-down stroke and turn it into some actual music. But for the time being,